The Mirage Milan is a new premium jet fighter in War Thunder's French Air Tree. Let's take a look. The Mirage Milan was the result of a partnership between France and Switzerland in 1968 that sought to develop a new version of the basic Mirage fighter featuring extendable aerodynamic foreplanes in the nose of the aircraft. The purpose of this was to improve the low-speed performance of the plane, since the wing design was heavily optimized for supersonic flight. Several prototypes were built for both France and for Switzerland, but it was clear by 1972 that more modern wing designs were the way forward, and the project was abandoned, even though the retractable foreplanes did provide a meaningful increase in its low-speed performance. The Milan would have featured similar weapon systems and electronics packages to the production Mirage III fighter. What we get in War Thunder is simply the Milan, a premium jet fighter in rank 6 of the French Air Tree at battle rating 9.7. The plane is really more oriented towards ground attack than air combat, and its radar set is the IDA-2, a basic radar rangefinder with no special features or caveats. This is a significant downgrade from the Cyrano radar set in the regular Mirage 3s. The weapon system includes a fully featured ballistics computer with the CCIP for all of its weapons, and the CCRP for the bombs. In real life, the plane would have had a laser target designator and compatibility with the AS-30L laser-guided missile, but we don't get those in War Thunder. The loadouts on the plane include bombs or unguided rocket pods mounted to the underwing fuel tanks, along with a selection of missiles. The Milan comes with custom weapon loadouts enabled by default, so you can build your own setups to fit your mission or playstyle. What we get for an air-to-air missile is the basic AIM-9B Sidewinder. This is the early caged seeker version of the missile, and it's not a great weapon, but it's better than nothing, and fairly common within this BR range. For an air-to-ground weapon, we get the AS-30. This is the manual command line-of-sight version of the air-to-ground Nord missile. It has an enormous warhead, but it can be somewhat difficult to use, and it takes a little practice to get good with it. The flight performance of the Milan is quite good. It has a more powerful engine than the other Mirage 3 variants in the game, has a superior rate of climb, and a slightly higher maximum speed. Being a delta-winged fighter, it's quite maneuverable through one or two turns, but it drops energy very fast, and if you end up in a sustained turn-and-burn dogfight, you may quickly find yourself out of speed and struggling to maneuver if you're not careful. The good news is that its strong engine power can help mitigate this a bit better than the other Mirage 3 versions, as can its folding canard foreplanes. Kind of. But the bad news is, if you have the external tanks under your wings, the performance suffers noticeably. It's important to note that the tanks that double as your bomb racks remain stuck on your plane even after dropping all of your ordnance. The folding canards are linked to the landing flaps, and on paper they provide a boost to low-speed pitch control, but in a practical sense you have to be going relatively slow for them to deploy, and I personally didn't find any noticeable benefit. You might though, so don't forget about them entirely. The Milan is classified as a regular jet fighter, but in my opinion, its real specialty is going to end up being ground attack. It only gets the AIM-9B missile, which just isn't competitive against all of the uncaged seeker IR missiles you're going to be up against, and even semi-active radar missiles if you get up-tiered. So it ends up being at a bit of a disadvantage in missile fights. The Defa cannons are the same deal as the other Mirages, and I've honestly never really been that great at using their weird cyclic rate and ballistics, but you might have better luck. For ground attack, though, the full ballistics computer, combined with generous options for bombs and rockets, makes this a natural strike fighter. If you're good with the AS-30, its potential for flying close air support into ground battles just amplifies even further, as you can take a Nord on the center line and still load up on bombs for a pretty heavy overall payload. One disadvantage in all game modes, though: no countermeasures, and no radar warning receiver. In up-tiered air battles, you may find yourself occasionally just exploding out of nowhere from a BVR semi-active radar missile coming in at you while you didn't even know you were under attack. And similarly, in ground battles, you won't know if you're being lit up by an SPAA radar. The lack of countermeasures is a self-evident shortcoming in Missile Thunder tiered matches. Visually, the Milan basically looks like a Mirage 3 or a Mirage 5, with the only real noticeable difference being the retractable foreplanes. Only one available paint job, but overall it's not a bad looking plane. Landing is pretty basic and similar to the other Mirage 3s, with the exception that the foreplanes give a little better pitch authority at low speeds, and it's a little harder to stall this one out on landing approaches. Generally, the landing is pretty easy, and it gets a drag chute. The cockpit is, unsurprisingly, very reminiscent of the Mirage 3. Visibility is acceptable, and the instruments are simple and good. It's an okay cockpit overall. To close out on the Mirage Milan, this plane has strong engine power, and it's pretty fast as long as it doesn't have the drop tank bomb racks attached. It gets the full ballistics computer, and it's very well suited for ground attack. Its placement at BR 9.7 means that it will completely outclass some of the jets that it faces in a down tier, and it gets premium bonuses. However, the AIM-9B is a very limited air-to-air missile, and it's all you get. It doesn't have a radar warning receiver or any countermeasures, and its placement at BR 9.7 means its weapons and defensive systems will be totally outclassed by many of the jets it faces in an up tier. The final verdict on the Mirage Milan is that this plane is about what you would want from a premium at 9.7. It's competent, but not especially overpowered in most matches. Its real strength seems to be ground attack, and I suspect that this could be a pretty solid grinder for people if they're into base bombing or close air support gameplay. Overall, I found this to be a really balanced premium jet. As always, thanks for watching.